There are moments in human history when heaven leans close to the earth, when eternity brushes against time, and when signs begin to speak louder than words. In such moments, God does not shout, He reveals. He does not argue, He unveils. And those who are spiritually awake begin to discern movements that others dismiss, signals that others overlook, and patterns that others explain away. We are living in such a time when ancient doors carry present messages, when old stones whisper eternal truths, and when a sealed gate becomes more than architecture, it becomes a declaration. The sealed gate of Jerusalem has long stood as a symbol, a mystery wrapped in prophecy, a silent testimony positioned between heaven's promise and humanity's expectation. It is not merely a gate of stone and mortar. It is a gate of meaning, of anticipation, of divine timing. For generations, it has been sealed, guarded by history, watched by nations, and surrounded by interpretations. Yet in the realm of the Spirit, nothing remains sealed forever when God decides to move. When God seals something, it is not to deny access forever. It is to preserve it for the appointed time. Sealing is not rejection, it is preparation. The same God who seals also opens. The same God who closes also releases. And when something sealed begins to move, it is not the stone that is speaking, but the Spirit that is signaling. It is heaven's way of saying, pay attention. Something I spoke long ago is coming into alignment. Throughout Scripture, God has always used gates as symbols of authority, transition, and divine access. Gates were places of judgment, of commerce, of prophecy, and of covenant. To sit at the gate was to rule. To possess the gate of the enemy was to triumph. To stand at the gate was to watch for what was coming. So when we speak of a sealed gate, we are not talking about a tourist landmark. We are talking about a prophetic posture. Jerusalem itself is not just a city. It is a spiritual compass. It is a convergence point of promise, prayer, conflict, and destiny. Nations look toward it, not always knowing why. Kings desire it. Empires have fought over it. Yet its true significance is not political. It is prophetic. God placed His name there. He tied His word to it. He anchored promises to it. And when God anchors a promise to a place, that place becomes a stage for revelation. The idea of a sealed gate speaks to divine restraint. It speaks of something holy that is not to be accessed casually. God has always restricted access to certain realms until hearts are prepared. Eden had a guarded entrance. The Holy of Holies had a veil. Revelation had seals. Access follows alignment. Movement follows maturity. Opening follows obedience. So when the sealed gate begins to move, not necessarily in the natural sense that cameras can capture, but in the spiritual sense that discernment can perceive, it is a call to awareness. It is a reminder that God's calendar is not stalled. Heaven's agenda has not been delayed. What God said centuries ago has not expired. His word does not age, it waits. Movement in the Spirit often precedes manifestation in the natural. Before walls fell, footsteps marched. Before seas parted, staffs were raised. Before resurrections occurred, stones were rolled. God rarely begins with the visible, He begins with the invisible. And when something long sealed begins to shift, it is not the final act. It is the signal that the season is changing. This is why not everyone notices. Spiritual movements are not detected by the eyes alone, they are discerned by the heart. You can live beside prophecy and never perceive it. You can walk past divine signs and remain unmoved. Awareness is not about proximity, it is about sensitivity. The greatest tragedy is not ignorance, it is dullness of spirit. The sealed gate speaks to a people who are waiting, but not all waiting is equal. Some wait passively, others wait prophetically. Passive waiting watches time pass. Prophetic waiting prepares for fulfillment. One sits idle, the other aligns posture, character, and expectation. When God begins to move something that was sealed, He is responding not just to prophecy, but to preparation. There's also a personal dimension to this message. Because gates are not only external, they are internal. Many lives have sealed gates, dreams once spoken but later locked away, callings postponed, promises delayed, hearts guarded because of pain, faith restrained because of disappointment. Yet the same God who moves prophetic gates in history also moves sealed gates in individual lives. Some gates were sealed by God for protection, others were sealed by fear, some by wisdom, others by wounds. But when the Spirit begins to move, He revisits what was sealed and asks, is this still necessary? Because what was once protection can become limitation if the season has changed. The movement of a sealed gate is never random. God does not open things prematurely, and He does not keep things closed unnecessarily. He is precise, He is intentional, He is timely. When He begins to move, it is because alignment has been achieved somewhere, either in the heavens, in the earth, or in the hearts of those involved. Prophetic movement also brings opposition. Anytime God signals transition, resistance arises. Not because the movement is wrong, but because darkness fears displacement. Gates control access, and access determines influence. When God prepares to open what was sealed, it means territory is about to change hands. Not politically, but spiritually. This is why fear increases when prophecy stirs. Confusion multiplies. Distractions intensify. The enemy thrives in noise, because noise dulls discernment. But those who remain spiritually focused recognize that movement does not mean chaos. It means change. Change is uncomfortable for those who benefit from stagnation. But heaven is not threatened by change. Heaven initiates it. God is not static. He is progressive in purpose, though eternal in nature. He moves history forward without violating His word. Every shift is anchored in what He already said. The sealed gate also speaks to divine fulfillment without human force. Man may try to control prophecy, accelerate destiny, or manipulate outcomes, but God remains sovereign. No empire opens what God seals. No authority closes what God opens. Time answers to Him. History bows to Him. And when something sealed begins to move, it humbles human arrogance. It reminds rulers, systems, and ideologies that there is a higher hand guiding events. Not everything that happens is random. Not everything is coincidence. Some things are announcements. Announcements do not explain everything. They alert. They say, look again. They say, reevaluate. They say, prepare. When God announces movement, He invites reflection, repentance, and realignment. He calls people back to reverence, back to faith, back to expectancy, because expectancy is a spiritual posture. Those who expect nothing receive nothing. But those who live alert, prayerful, and aligned are never surprised by God's movements. They are prepared for them. The sealed gate is not about fear, it is about faith. Not about speculation, about sensitivity. Not about sensationalism, about submission. God does not reveal signs to entertain curiosity, but to awaken responsibility. Revelation demands response. The question is not whether something is moving. The question is whether we are ready for what movement implies. Our hearts prepared, our lives aligned, our priorities adjusted. Because when gates open, flow follows, access follows, opportunity follows, and accountability follows as well. Every open gate invites either glory or judgment, depending on alignment. This is why God seals until the time is right. Love restrains until wisdom releases. Mercy delays until justice aligns. And when the moment comes, nothing can stop what God has ordained. The sealed gate of Jerusalem, in its spiritual meaning, reminds us that God is faithful to His word across generations. That prophecy does not die because decades pass. That silence does not mean absence. That waiting does not mean forgetting. It also reminds us that God moves progressively, not abruptly. What appears sudden to man is often the result of long preparation in the unseen. Heaven has been working long before earth noticed. So this is not a time for panic, but for posture. Not for argument, but for alignment. Not for speculation, but for sanctification. Because whenever God begins to move sealed things, He is inviting His people to move with Him, not ahead of Him, not behind Him, but in step. Those who discern the times do not chase signs, they follow truth. They do not worship gates, they honor the God who controls them. They do not fear movement, they trust the one who initiates it. Let hearts remain awake. Let faith remain active. Let discernment remain sharp. Because God is never late, never early, only precise. And when He moves what was sealed, it is because the time He spoke of has drawn near. And when heaven moves, earth must listen. The movement of the sealed gate is also a call to vigilance. Many have prayed for breakthroughs and yet missed the moment because they were distracted, asleep, or entangled in trivialities. God does not force awareness, He invites it. He signals with whispers, nudges, and subtle alignments. The wise watch, the prepared discern, the faithful respond. This is why prayer, meditation on the word, and holy attentiveness are not optional. They are essential. When heaven stirs, only those with eyes to see and ears to hear can navigate the unfolding season. Prophetic timing always intersects with human responsibility. God moves, but He also expects obedience. The gate may be shifting, but hearts must be open to receive what the movement brings. Spiritual preparation is as important as the physical sign. It is the refining of character, the purifying of motives, and the aligning of priorities that allows a person to step through the gate unscathed and fruitful. Those who ignore preparation will find the gate an obstacle rather than an opportunity. Every generation has its gates, seals that guard access to destiny. Some are public and visible, others are private and intimate. Some affect nations, others affect families or individuals. But all are subject to the same principle. God alone controls the timing of opening and closing. No human power can hasten it, and no circumstance can delay it. When God decides, what was locked becomes liberated. What was inaccessible becomes available. What was silent begins to speak. This is why the movement of the sealed gate must awaken hope. Hope that what has been promised will not fail. Hope that what has been delayed will not be denied. Hope that even the impossible is within the reach of the Almighty. The sealed gate has been a symbol of patience, endurance, and faithfulness. Its movement is a reward for those who have persevered in the face of doubt, disappointment, and delay. Spiritual movement often precedes natural manifestation. God rarely begins with the visible because He works first in the invisible realm. Angels are dispatched, destinies are aligned, circumstances are orchestrated. And when heaven begins, earth follows. The movement of the sealed gate is a heavenly declaration that alignment is complete, that the stage is set, and that the season is ready to shift. This also serves as a reminder that God's methods are often mysterious to human eyes. What looks small, slow, or insignificant may carry monumental significance in the spiritual realm. Do not despise the subtle stirrings of God's Spirit, for they are often the earliest indicators of divine intervention. Those who are sensitive to these stirrings are like prophets of old. They discern the moments and position themselves to act according to God's timing. The movement of the sealed gate is not only about access, it is about authority. Gates have always symbolized control and dominion. To open a gate is to release what has been contained, to shift the power dynamics, and to redefine the landscape. In a spiritual sense, when God moves what was sealed, He is not only fulfilling a promise, but asserting His ultimate authority over history, over nations, over communities, and over lives. Believers must recognize that with every divine opening comes divine responsibility. Access without obedience becomes wasted opportunity. The movement of the gate is a test of alignment, humility, and readiness. It separates those who are content with merely seeing signs from those who are willing to step into what God is doing. The gate may shift, but those who are unprepared will miss the fullness of its blessing. Even as the sealed gate moves, resistance will rise. Forces opposed to God's purpose often appear when divine timing is near. Opposition does not indicate failure, it indicates significance. The enemy reacts to what threatens his domain, because he knows that what God opens cannot ultimately be closed by human hands. Every resistance is a confirmation that what is moving is part of a divine plan. For God never orchestrates unopposed transitions. Faith becomes the lens through which the movement of the gate is interpreted. Those without faith see mere stones and hear mere noise. Those with faith hear messages and discern direction. Faith allows perception beyond the immediate, vision beyond the visible, and courage beyond circumstance. It is faith that enables one to walk through the moving gate confidently, knowing that God is the orchestrator of the season. Preparation for the opening of the gate is also a preparation of character. God does not just move gates to release blessings. He moves gates to reveal integrity, patience, and obedience. Those who are spiritually mature recognize that the movement of the gate is both an opportunity and a test. It measures readiness, reveals priorities, and confirms trust in the unseen. The shifting of the sealed gate calls for spiritual alertness, vigilance, prayer, and discernment are the keys to walking in harmony with God's timing. Opportunities may pass in the blink of an eye for those who are inattentive. The spiritually awake position themselves to perceive, respond, and participate in the unfolding purpose of God. Every delay is PR, apparition. Every signal is instruction, and every movement is an invitation. The moving gate also signals a shift in seasons. Life moves in seasons, and God aligns events to his calendar. What was restricted in one season becomes available in another. What was sealed in the past becomes accessible in the present. Those who understand this principle adjust their expectations, remain patient, and act in accordance with divine timing. The gate's movement reminds us that God's timing is perfect, even when it appears delayed to human perception. The sacredness of the gate must also be recognized. Not all open doors are meant to be entered. Spiritual discernment is required to distinguish between God's movement and human manipulation. The movement of a divine gate aligns with holiness, purpose, and destiny. It is not a random event, nor is it subject to human whims. Only those who remain sensitive to God's voice can step through at the right time and in the right manner. Every divine shift is accompanied by revelation. The moving gate brings understanding, clarity, and insight. It clarifies what has been hidden, resolves confusion, and directs destiny. Those who pay attention receive instruction. Those who are spiritually awake receive guidance. Those who are aligned with God's purpose receive revelation that equips them to navigate the unfolding season. The movement of the sealed gate also carries a message of hope for nations, communities, and individuals. It is a reminder that what God has promised will come to pass. It is an assurance that history is not random but divinely orchestrated. It is an invitation to trust in the unseen, to believe in the impossible, and to stand firm in faith. Those who embrace this understanding are positioned to experience the fullness of God's promises. The moving gate is a call to obedience. Spiritual movement requires alignment of heart, mind, and action. God's timing demands responsiveness. Those who resist or delay may miss the intended purpose. Those who respond with faith and humility experience the blessings, opportunities, and authority associated with divine timing. Obedience transforms signs into fulfillment, promises into realities, and movement into manifestation. The spiritual significance of a moving gate cannot be overstated. Gates symbolize authority, access, and responsibility. Their movement is a divine announcement that heaven is active and that human hearts must respond. The faithful recognize the moment, prepare their hearts, and align their actions. The spiritually alert move in step with God's purposes, positioning themselves to receive what has been long awaited. The movement of a sealed gate also demonstrates God's faithfulness. Generations may have waited, seasons may have passed, but God's word does not fail. His timing is perfect. What he seals, he guards. What he opens, he blesses. The shifting of the gate is a visible reminder that God remains sovereign, active, and attentive to his promises. Every divine shift invites participation. God moves, but He invites His people to move with Him. Those who are ready step through with confidence, equipped by faith and guided by discernment. Those who ignore the invitation remain outside, missing the fullness of what God intended. The Gates movement is both a call and an opportunity, a moment to align with destiny and embrace divine purpose. The moving gate is also a signal of transformation. Access to new levels, new opportunities, and new revelations requires readiness of heart and maturity of spirit. Those who enter unprepared may stumble, but those who align themselves with God's principles walk in authority and grace. Spiritual preparedness ensures that divine openings result in fulfillment, fruitfulness, and glory. Movement of the sealed gate also teaches patience under pressure. Many have prayed for breakthroughs, yet the answers seem slow to come. God's timing is not dictated by human urgency. The movement of the gates reminds us that waiting is not in vain. Seasons of waiting refine character, strengthen faith, and prepare the heart for the fullness of what is to come. Those who endure patiently find that what is delayed is often more profound, more impactful, and more glorious than what they imagine. The Gates movement carries a prophetic invitation to alignment. Spiritual alignment precedes manifestation. Hearts, minds, and spirits must be in harmony with God's will to access what He is opening. Misalignment can block blessings. Even when doors are moving, God calls His people to integrity, purity, and obedience. Only when we align ourselves with His principles can we step through the gate safely and fully participate in His purposes. The moving gate is also a reminder of God's sovereignty over history. Nations rise and fall, rulers come and go, yet God's plan is unshakable. He orchestrates events according to His divine calendar, and even the smallest movements are part of a greater plan. Those who discern this understand that the shifting of the gate is not random. It is intentional. It is strategic. It is a signal that the divine hand is active and that human hearts must respond accordingly. Resistance often accompanies divine movement. When God stirs history, forces opposed to His purpose attempt to counteract it. Opposition is not a sign of failure. It is a confirmation that the movement is significant. Darkness reacts because it recognizes the power of what is shifting. Faithful observers understand that every obstacle, every distraction, and every challenge is part of the process. It is an invitation to trust God more deeply, to hold fast to His promises, and to remain steadfast in expectation. The movement of the gate also illustrates the principle of spiritual seasons. There is a time for waiting, a time for preparation, and a time for action. God's seasons are precise. What was inaccessible yesterday may become available today. What was delayed for years may suddenly manifest. The shifting of the gate signals that the appointed season is at hand. Those who recognize the season and act in alignment with God's timing step into fulfillment and authority. Prayer and vigilance are key to understanding the movement of the gate. Spiritual sensitivity allows us to perceive the stirrings of God's hand before they fully manifest. Those who are attentive, watchful, and prayerful are positioned to respond appropriately. Those who are distracted or inattentive may miss the signs and the opportunity to participate in God's unfolding plan. Spiritual readiness is the gateway to access. The gates movement is also a call to faith over fear. When significant shifts occur, uncertainty and anxiety often arise. But the spiritually discerning understand that God's movement is always accompanied by provision, guidance, and protection. Fear cannot coexist with faith. Those who embrace God's timing walk confidently, knowing that what He initiates is perfect, purposeful, and unstoppable. The movement of the sealed gate also emphasizes the importance of discernment. Not every opening is divine. God's movement aligns with holiness, purpose, and truth. Spiritual wisdom is required to distinguish between genuine divine shifts and human or demonic manipulation. The faithful develop sensitivity to God's voice, ensuring that when the gate opens, they step in obedience, not impulsiveness. This divine movement brings revelation. What was once hidden becomes visible. Confusion is clarified. Mysteries are unveiled. Those who remain alert receive insight, HT into God's purposes, direction for their lives, and understanding of the season. Revelation equips the faithful to navigate opportunities wisely, walk in alignment with destiny, and experience fulfillment without compromise. The shifting gate is also a symbol of hope. It declares that God is faithful, that His promises endure, and that even the longest seasons of waiting are not wasted. What was once sealed will be released. What was delayed will be fulfilled. What seemed impossible is now within reach. Hope is renewed, faith is strengthened, and expectation rises as heaven signals the readiness of the moment. Obedience is central to experiencing the full blessing of the gates movement. Access requires alignment, integrity, and submission to God's timing. Those who step through without obedience may stumble or miss the fullness of the blessing. Divine openings demand responsible participation. Faithful obedience transforms potential into reality, signals into fulfillment, and promises into tangible results. The moving gate demonstrates the interplay between divine initiative and human response. God moves first, establishing the opportunity. Humans respond, stepping in faith to access what is released. This partnership requires attentiveness, discernment, and alignment. The faithful recognize their role in responding to God's signals and position themselves to benefit from His timing. The gates movement also carries implications for authority and dominion. Gates represent control over access, influence, and territory. When God moves what has been sealed, He is shifting spiritual authority, redefining boundaries, and asserting His dominion. Those who understand this principle approach the opportunity with reverence, humility, and preparedness to exercise stewardship over what is entrusted to them. The divine shift signals transformation, access to new levels. Responsibilities and opportunities requires readiness of heart and spiritual maturity. Those who enter unprepared risk failure or loss. Those who align their hearts with God's principles walk in grace, authority, and blessing. Spiritual preparedness ensures that divine openings produce fruit, favor, and fulfillment. The movement of the sealed gate also encourages spiritual endurance. God's timing often tests patience, perseverance, and faithfulness. Those who endure through long seasons of waiting demonstrate trust in God's wisdom and sovereignty. Endurance positions believers to receive the fullness of what God is releasing. The gates movement reminds us that perseverance is rewarded and that the faithful are never overlooked. Spiritual alertness remains crucial. The gates shifting requires attentiveness to divine signals. Opportunities may be fleeting, and only the spiritually sensitive perceive the movement in time. Prayer, meditation, and discernment are essential tools for recognizing the season and stepping into it confidently. The faithful remain vigilant, ready to act in alignment with God's purpose. The moving gate also reveals the nature of God's faithfulness across generations. Long-standing promises, delayed answers, and centuries-old prophecies are all subject to His timing. The shifting of the gate demonstrates that God never forgets, never abandons, and never fails to fulfill His word. Faith in God's consistency allows believers to trust that the movement they see today is the result of divine orchestration across time. The divine invitation embedded in the gates movement calls for participation. God initiates, His people respond. Those who are ready step through in obedience, faith, and humility. Those who are not remain outside, missing the fullness of what He intended. The movement signals opportunity, authority, and responsibility. It is bold, a call to action, and a test of readiness. Let us draw our hearts to the conclusion of this message, for it carries a timeless truth. The movement of the sealed gate of Jerusalem is not just a historical or physical phenomenon. It is a divine declaration, a signal of God's timing, and a call to spiritual readiness. It reminds us that God's plans are perfect, His promises are certain, and His timing is impeccable. What has been sealed for seasons is not forgotten. What has been delayed is not denied. And what seems immovable is subject to the authority of the Almighty. As the gate shifts, so too are the opportunities for those who remain vigilant, faithful, and obedient. God moves first, but He calls His people to move with Him, to respond in alignment, to step in faith, and to embrace the responsibilities that come with access. The faithful are invited to prepare their hearts, purify their motives, and position themselves to walk through the openings He provides. In the grand tapestry of history and destiny, the sealed gate serves as a reminder that waiting is never wasted, that patience is rewarded, and that discernment unlocks the fullness of God's blessings. Heaven stirs, the seasons shift, and those who are spiritually alert will experience the manifestation of promises long held. So let us lift our eyes, strengthen our faith, and awaken our hearts to the reality that what God has sealed, He will move, and what He moves, no man or circumstance can hinder. Let us step boldly, walk faithfully, and embrace the unfolding of His divine purposes. For the movement of the sealed gate is not just a sign. It is an invitation to participate in the miraculous, to witness the extraordinary, and to align with the eternal God who never fails, never delays, and whose plans always prevail. Our response is the key. Let faith rise, let hope flourish, and let obedience guide every step. The gate is moving, heaven is speaking, and now is the time to position ourselves to enter into all that God has prepared.